Start off by saying thank you so much for coming out today and welcome to our community outreach meeting to introduce you to and answer questions about the Southeastern Arizona Water District project. We're so happy to see so many of our friends and neighbors out here and to come out and learn about this proposed project. And the project is to bring a long-term, reliable, and affordable supply of domestic water to those of us living in rural communities and remote areas of the county. My name is John Shaver. For those of you that don't know me, I'm one of your neighbors. I grew up here and out in the Kansas settlement area. And I was blessed to have the opportunity to stay here and raise my family in the Sulphur Springs Valley. And was able to give them the same opportunities I had growing up in a rural community. One of those things is that feeling of community coming together to face challenges and enjoy the many benefits of this way of life. That's really precious to me. That's why I'm here. I volunteered to be part of this worthy project and important effort to bring this domestic water source to our communities to allow us and the generations to come a pathway to enjoy the same opportunities I had. So over the years and decades, we, like every other community, have faced challenges to our way of life. We faced these challenges in the past by coming together and developing solutions that are logical and sustainable. We're here together today for that same purpose, to propose a solution for the one element that's vital to sustaining all life, and that's water. This group of volunteers from our community have come together, weighed options, done the research, sought advice from professionals, and developed what we feel is a workable, logical solution to this challenge of having a reliable, affordable, and sustainable domestic water supply for our communities. And we're here because we need your help. To be clear, a domestic water improvement district doesn't include taking away any of your current water rights. You can continue using your well, drill a well if you wish, etc. It does not include any restrictions on your current water use or limit you in any way. It's not government taking control of your water or any corporation profiting from your future water use. A domestic water improvement district is the people using it, developed by the people and ran by the people using it. So it's important to understand all those things. Now before I introduce our guest speaker, which she's not here in person, so she's got a representative to speak on her behalf. We've got a few housekeeping items. So the bathrooms are over here. If you're not familiar with the gym here, the bathroom's over here by Mr. Hart. And help yourself to water and cookies on the table if you'd like. One thing I want to tell you, we're filming these meetings for the purpose of posting it on the website for those who are unable to attend. When the question and answer portion of the meeting commences, please raise your hand if you have a question, and I'll come over with the cordless microphone so everybody can clearly hear the question you're asking, so the whole group may benefit. And please respect the limited time we have here, so everybody has a chance to get their questions answered. We're scheduled to be here till 11:30, and we want to also very much appreciate Valley Union High School of letting us, in short notice, move the location over here from the community center. After the presentation, we'll have an interest card to fill out for those who are just interested in being updated on meetings and so forth and information, and a sign-up sheet if you want to over here. So Since we're on a limited time, without any further delay, I want to introduce Mr. James Canlon. He's going to give a statement on behalf of Gail Griffin.
Good morning. Good to see you all this morning. Representative Griffin asked that this letter be read. She penned this letter this week. She says, "Dear friends and neighbors, I appreciate that you are meeting and trying to solve some of the water concerns and issues in your community. As many of you know, I've been working on the water issues we face in our communities and state for many years. I have come to know the needs and concerns facing rural Arizona. We live in a time where water has become a top priority for property owners and lawmakers, especially when it comes to safe and reliable water for our communities. I applaud the efforts being undertaken by you today to meet and discuss the community needs for safe and reliable and long-term water service. I have been at some of the formation meetings of the Southern Arizona Water District and understand the complexities with regards to developing a water district that is able to provide the needed water for the many thousands of residents in the area. Furthermore, I have visited with residents who have drilled and are drilling wells and understand the incredible costs associated with those ventures. I would encourage you to continue your discussions exploring the Southeastern Arizona Water District as a viable solution for the delivery of safe and reliable water into the future. I look forward to seeing you in the future meetings and wish you the best in 2022. Respectfully, Representative Gail Griffin. Thank you.
Okay, for those of you that are having difficulty hearing back there, we're going to get that fan turned off, the heater there, so you can better hear. So the next step here is going to let the interim board of directors introduce themselves one at a time and just give a statement about who they are and why they're here. Terry, you want to go ahead and start, and we'll just pass it down.
Testing. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming. We appreciate you taking your time out of your busy week to visit with us. My name is Terry Berkey. I live in Sunsides. I got involved with this project because I'm concerned about the water situation in the valley. We like to be able to buy a place in the country and with our own well, but when we moved down here a couple of years ago, we read up on the groundwater situation here and we were concerned, so we ended up buying a place in Sunsides. So every month, or almost every month, I talk to somebody who's having trouble with their well. Either it's spitting air, spitting sand, or going dry. And we know it takes a lot to drill deeper. We know it's a huge burden for people especially a fixed income. So I got involved with this project. We'd like people to be able to have access to affordable water, reliable water, clean water, and be able to live in the country if they like, and maintain that rural standard of living. So that's why I'm involved with this project.
My name is John Hart. My wife and I own a farm up on the north side of Kansas Settlement. We've been down here about 16 years. Both of us are lifelong Arizona residents. I'm fourth generation to farm in Arizona. Got 3 kids. 2 out of 3 of them are pretty interested in agriculture. And quite honestly, that's why I'm here, is because the sense of community that I feel down here. I worry about whether or not we're going to have water sustainability for our homes and our families, and I want to make sure that we're able to continue that. And that, in a nutshell, is why I got involved with this domestic water system program. I want to be able to see our economy look like it does for as long as possible. And I think this is one of the ways that we can help continue to do that. Thank you.
Hello everybody, my name is Courtney Adcock. I'm a semi-new resident to the Valley. I live in Sunazona. moved here in 2019 to an off-grid home. And for the first few years of living here, my husband and I hauled water, like many people do. We were able to save up money over the last few years to put in a well, but having to wake up and worry about water, whether I'm going to get it, whether the person who can haul it to me is available, whether all the situations that I have so many friends and neighbors dealing with right now, that's why I'm here. I want to make sure that every home owner, every home in the area who wants water, who needs water, can get water for an affordable price. Because water is life, and we all need it. The reason we moved here is because of this community. We were from Tucson originally, and we traveled all around the country, and we ended up coming back here because, one, it's gorgeous, and two, the community here is amazing. Everyone here is so welcoming, everyone works together so well compared to everywhere else I've ever lived. So I'm very happy to be a part of this and to hopefully work together for a solution in the future.
My name is Fred Zamora. I was born down the road in Douglas. I was raised here in Elfrida. Through the years, I grew up working for different farmers and was lucky enough to, over the years, with the help of a lot of people, to start farming on my own. But I've also noticed in the last basically 30 years, the water's declining slowly but surely. So when I heard that some residents in the valley were going to establish this water district, I thought it was a great idea. It's strictly for domestic water use, and I thought it was a great idea, and I wanted to help. I believe that it's extremely important that all residents should have a clean, reliable source of water today and as well as into the future, and that's why I got involved. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Gary Fair. I've been in the valley for 7 years. I've had the opportunity to watch and in some cases be part of rural development of electric and water systems, and recently in cellular and Wi-Fi systems. Two things they all have in common are the U.S. government has programs in place to help fund them. And the second one, that they all start with local involvement, like we are here today. And once they're completed, is what I've noticed in them that I've been part of, it definitely enhances the quality of life in the rural areas of our country. And I feel honored to be asked and look forward to helping create the Southeastern Arizona Water District.
Okay, thank you. So when we get to the question and answer portion of the presentation today, these are the folks that will answer these, whatever questions you have. And but the next step of our program here is a presentation, and it's going to be presented to us by Patrick Deering from DGR Engineering. And I'm just going to turn over the mic to him while he's going through his presentation.
Morning, everybody. As John mentioned, my name is Patrick Deering. I'm with DGR Engineering. We're a consulting engineering firm out of Rock Rapids, Iowa. I'm a professional engineer in their water services department, and I specialize in working with regional water systems just like the ones that you guys are looking for down here. So just a quick overview of what I'm going to cover in my presentation. Talk a little bit about what a regional water system is and why they're formed, why they come together. Talk about what the proposed plan is here in Cochise County. Talk a little bit about the cost, which I know is a big, something that everybody is really interested in knowing, and what we're looking for as far as the cost of this project. And then talk a little bit about how you can participate in the water district that we're looking for. So a little bit about DGR Engineering. Like I said, we're a consulting engineering firm, about 150 people. We're based out of Rock Rapids, Iowa, which is a town of about 2,500 people in the very northwest corner of Iowa. We have 3 locations in Iowa and South Dakota. This is a map of some of the regional water systems that the Water Services Department, DGR, currently works with. So this is, as you can see, we're mostly based in the upper Midwest, so that's South Dakota, Minnesota, Iowa, those 3 states where they come together. A lot of regional water systems that we work with there, and then also have a couple up in Montana. In total, we work with about 30 regional water systems, and a lot of those are systems that we helped form back in the 70s and 80s, and have been continued on as their engineer, and have grown with those systems as they've started from a group just like this, a group of interested people having a need for quality water, banded together, got enough of their neighbors to sign on, and formed a water district, and just over time they've slowly grown that. Some of these systems are pretty built out where 99% of the people in those counties are fully signed up with water, and everybody that moves into the county signs on to the rural water systems, and some of them are relatively new, where they're still adding customers as they go. So, so this is where we've got most of our work, upper Midwest. So we don't work with all the water systems. This is a map of the rural water systems in South Dakota. As you can see, most of South Dakota is covered. If you look at a map of North Dakota and Iowa, they would look pretty similar to this. So, there's in this area of the country, there's a lot of water quality concerns and quantity concerns that are the reason that these systems form. So, generally pretty good coverage in these states. Here's a map of Kansas, so pretty similar story. A lot of the, especially eastern portion of Kansas, is covered by rural water systems, just on a smaller scale. So you can either get large multi-county systems that band together, or you can do it more on a county-wide level and in a smaller regional area. It all depends on the water availability and kind of the group and the initial scope of the water system that's being formed, how big they plan to be. So just to give you some perspective on the number of miles of pipe and the connections. So here's a list of most of the people that I showed on that DGR map a little bit earlier. The name of the system, the number of meters, so the number of residential connections that are members of those systems, and then the miles of pipe that those systems currently have in their system. So you can see that southeastern Arizona falls right in the middle as far as the number of meters. But if you were to have sorted that list by the miles of pipe, they would be much further down on that list, and that's more of a density issue. So a lot of these areas of these systems are pretty sparsely populated, where you will have 2 to 3 people per mile of pipe in the system. That's pretty normal for our area of the country. You guys have the advantage of having a much higher population density down here, so you're up there at 7 to 8 people per mile. So that 300 miles is what it would be, and I've got a little bit further. I'll go into a little bit on the the statistics of this area and kind of what that 300 miles covers as far as in Cochise County. So a little bit about regional water construction. Rural water systems are different than municipal systems in a couple ways. Municipal systems tend to serve everybody in the town. So, and one of the main purposes of those municipal systems is to provide fire protection. So not only are they providing the needs of the people in the towns, but they're also providing fire protection throughout. That's a big difference between a regional rural water system and a municipal system. Regional water systems do not generally provide fire protection, just because in a town, it's pretty typical that a 6-inch or an 8-inch main is the smallest size of pipe in town. In a rural systems, it's the opposite. A 6 or an 8-inch line would be considered a pretty big transmission main in a rural system, and the big difference there is one's providing fire protection and one isn't. So a rural water system is not providing fire protection, so no hydrants for hooking up to fire departments. Fire departments can typically use different filling points throughout the rural system, and it can help rural fire departments at filling points, but it's not the same as going into a town, hooking up to a hydrant with a pumper truck and fighting a fire that way. So a little bit different there. The other difference is that typically rural water systems are just looking to provide the residential needs. Rural water systems are not typically used for large industrial customers, just because with those large or agricultural purposes, because the amount of water needed for the residential usage is such a small percentage compared to what the larger users would be. So Typically, you're not building out a rural water system for those larger users. You're tending to get the more rural customers and rural farm homes in those. Generally, there can be thousands of feet of distance between customers. Like I was saying, 2 to 3 customers per mile is pretty typical up in our area of the country, and much smaller diameter pipes. So I mean, down to 2-inch size for mains, up to maybe 12-inch size for the large transmission mains, but generally smaller pipe in a regional water construction. So here's just some different examples of regional construction being installed, the pipeline. There's a trencher there, there's a plow, pipe being installed with a plow, and then your typical excavator installation as well. Here's some more pipe going in the ground. This is actually a 10-inch pipeline being plowed into the ground up in northern Montana. Here's some examples of some storage. So pipeline is what delivers the water to the individual customers. There are also storage tanks. You see an elevated tank here in this photo. When you see that in a town, that's typically what's providing the fire protection. In a rural area, it's providing gravity service and making it so that you can deliver the demands of the area over a full day rather than having to deliver all the demand of the instantaneous peak usage at any given time. So it evens out the demands of the customers. So, the diurnal curve of people using a lot of water in the morning before they go to work, a lot of water when they come home from work, kind of evens out those demand patterns and allows you to, just worry about keeping your storage full and deliver those demands over more of a full day. So just different types of storage. The ground storage reservoirs is probably more like what you would see around here just because you have a lot of elevation. Eastern South Dakota, flat as a pancake. So a lot of the times we have to use elevated storage just to get the water high enough to provide good pressure to everybody. Here you can go and set a tank up on a hill and that provides good water pressure to everybody. So that would probably be the more typical storage that you'd see in an area down here. Here's some examples of some pump stations. So pump stations are used to add pressure into the system. When you're dealing with a lot of elevation change, to get to the higher elevations, you sometimes need to boost the pressure to be able to send water further up the hill. Also provide pump stations just to deliver the water long distances. And wells, so water sources are common to any water system. So just some examples of some different well type construction. So why regional water? Why do regional water systems get formed? It's typically either poor quality, no water availability, or a matter of cost. So those are the primary drivers of why a regional water system gets formed. But it always starts with a group of people that need a better quality water or more water, don't have it available to them. A lot of the times if you're an individual landowner, you're at the mercy of whatever you happen to have on the property that you own, wherever you're at. And if you don't have it there, either you don't have a good source or you don't have a good supply of it, then you're generally having to bring water in from somewhere else. And if you don't have a regional system, then you have no other option than to haul the water. And some areas have such poor quality, they have plenty of water available, but it's so expensive for them to have an in-home treatment for it that they'll use it for maybe cooking and bathing and sanitary usage, but they would never drink it. So, and that's very common up in the upper Midwest. Another advantage of having a regional water system is that you have trained professional staff that maintains that system. And you're also always making sure that you're in compliance with all state and federal regulations. So individual homes do not have to meet the primary drinking water standards. If you want to drink the water that's available to you at your home, there's nothing stopping you from doing that. As a public water system, you have to comply with all federal primary drinking water standards and state drinking water standards. So as a regional system, you're assured that the drinking water standards are always held to a high quality. And also continuous monitoring. So the state sets up a standard monitoring schedule for all the normal contaminants that a system has to monitor for, and there's requirements that they have to meet and not exceed any contaminant levels in their water source, and report those levels to the state. There's also a lower consumer cost. Generally, when a lot of people band together for a regional system, that is, of course, scalable. So the more people you have, the greater the economy of scale that you get, and the lower the cost. So that's true both in the initial capital cost of those systems. So generally, a group of people going together and having a single water source is less expensive than each of those people having their own individual water source to get the same quality and quantity of water. And then you also get the advantage of the more people you have, the lower the cost of operation from the economy of scale. And you have added reliability. With a regional system, you typically have redundant pumps, you have redundant wells, you have added reliability where if you have an individual well, typically you just have one well, and if that well goes down, you no longer have any water. So just some added reliability by having a regional water system. So here's some of the statistics on the conceptual design for the water system for southeastern Arizona. It is designed for domestic use. So domestic use is somewhat synonymous with residential use. So that's both your indoor and outdoor use at your homes. It's not livestock, it's not agriculture, it's not industrial, it's for your home use. And so that's what's being conceptualized here. So the green area of the map, and I know the map is a little hard to see, but the green area is generally the system boundaries, except for the areas in blue. There are existing water districts and water companies already in the area. Clear Springs, in the northern part of this area, Elfrida here has its own water district, so those areas are not included in these numbers. So if you look at just that green area, which is generally from Wilcox, Interstate 10 on the north side, down to McNeil on the south side, and then the valley in between the mountain ranges, is what's encompassed there. There's 2,300 plus residential homes in that area, 7,700 vacant parcels, so parcels without a home site on them, which is a lot for this size of area. You guys have a very unique subdivided county here with lots of vacant parcels. So if you were to go and connect all of those 2,300 plus people, it would take 300 miles of pipeline. That land area covers 450 square miles, and just conceptually in the initial planning stages, looking at doing that with 2 wells so that you have a redundant supply, 2 storage reservoirs to provide gravity service, and like I was mentioning earlier, be able to average out your demands over a full day, and then also 5 pump stations. So the 5 pump stations is mainly smaller pump stations because most of the valley is a pretty consistent elevation, but as you get up towards the mountain ranges on either side, you start to gain elevation, and so to get up to those people from down in the valley, you have to add pressure into the system to be able to serve those homes. So pump stations throughout the area to serve everybody within that green, 5 total. Governance of this. This is conceived as a member-governed utility district. So to become a water district, that is established by the county commission by petition. So a group of people have to get together and have to be 51% of the area being petitioned into the water district, and have to submit that petition to the county for approval. As part of that petition, an initial board of directors have to be named on that, of who will be governing the water district. The responsibilities of the board, set policies for the district operations, hire a manager or management company for operating the day-to-day management of the system, set the budgets and the rates, retain consultants such as legal consultants, engineering consultants, and financing, monitor and improve any sort of capital improvements, so both initial construction and after the system has been built out, any sort of capital improvements needed to continue to expand or maintain the system, and then conduct either monthly or quarterly board meetings that are open to the public. The county does not have an active role in the governance of the system once it's been formed. It's a local district formed by the people being served and also governed by the people being served. So the board of directors will be made up of people that are within the district. And once that initial petition has been approved by the county, then the involvement of the county ceases, and the governance goes fully to the board of directors. District operation, so the board is not involved in the day-to-day operation. That is the duties of the staff hired to maintain and operate the system. The board does set the policy and vision set by the directors for the system, and also establishes the rates and the budgets prior to June 30th of each year. Hires the staff that will be operating the system. Staff responsibilities include monitoring the operations, making sure the system is running, assure regulatory compliance, make sure there's no contaminant violations within the system. Interact with customers, so any sort of service calls, any interruptions to service, contact your local operators to come and help you with your problems. Handle monthly billing and collections, repair and maintain the system, and then recommend capital improvements to the board. So project funding. So it's pretty typical for a regional water system to go to USDA rural development. USDA has a water and wastewater program designed for communities or water systems of less than 10,000 people. So a lot of these rural water systems fall squarely in that. And the benefit of USDA is they have a pretty high grant availability depending on the income level of the system being served. So typically in rural areas, the grant eligibility in those areas is higher. And looking at the initial eligibility of the area that was outlined in green, there's a 55% grant eligibility through the USDA program, which really helps with the affordability, being able to get that high of a percentage of grant. And USDA also offers very low interest rates. The current interest rate on a 30 and 40-year loan is 1.75 through the USDA program. If you're at the qualifying level, income basis. So low interest loans, long terms, really help with the affordability when you're trying to pay back the 45% of the system that is then loan that needs to be paid back by the membership. There are also state programs, loan and grant, that can help with the affordability. That's subject to the state's availability of funds and their use of the funds on a system like this. And then also local donations that can go towards paying back some of the debt service. Cost to the customer. So initially the board is looking to try to keep the cost down to around 50%. This is very approximate, especially at this conceptual stage. I mean, really until you know who you're serving and how you're going to get to them, there's really no way to definitively say what the cost is going to be at this early stage. But this is the target level of cost for the system, trying to keep a base monthly fee of $50. That's the portion that would go towards that, the 45% of the system that's going to be loan. So really this is a debt service payment. It would be a monthly minimum on your water, that would come to you as a water bill. And then a total average monthly bill of around $70 to $95, the difference being that additional $20 to $45 being based on your usage. So there will be a monthly minimum fee and then a usage fee based on a cost per 1,000 gallons of use. These estimates are based on $5 per 1,000 gallons, but that's strictly just an estimate. And like I said, it's so early, it's impossible to really say what that level needs to be, but that would be based on how much water you use in the system. And then the funding agencies will partially control what those costs. The higher the cost to the customer, typically that also factors into the grant availability. So especially USDA, they actually keep, there's a certain minimum threshold where USDA doesn't provide grant if the water bills are below a certain threshold, but once they get above that threshold, that's typically where you have access to additional grant funding. So how do you get there? The conceptual project phase is the first. That's the group of people coming together and saying, hey, we've got a problem we need to find a solution to, and banding together and forming a group of interested people to try to come up with what that solution looks like, and also develop a conceptual budget of, okay, how much do we think this is going to cost to do something? Once that phase has been completed, the next phase is the formal organization. So that's really where we're at right now is, okay, there's a defined need, want to try to find a solution to the water availability in the area. So the next step is the development of a steering committee and an initial board of directors to help lead that effort. And then hold public information meetings, which is the first of those, to gauge interest and collect comments from the people that are being proposed to be served, and see if there's enough interest to actually have enough people to form a water district. After that initial interest phase is a feasibility study. Is now that you know who's interested in receiving water, how do you get to them, and what is that going to cost on a feasibility level, and preparing a preliminary report that you then submit to the funding agencies for project funding. So USDA requires both a preliminary engineering report and an environmental assessment that goes along with their funding package. And so you have to show to USDA that you have a constructible and affordable project for them to be able to fund it. So that's really the step that we're in right now. After USDA has agreed that yes, this is a project that we're willing to fund, and I should take a step back and say the USDA, there's a couple different ways that you can go about forming a system like this. You can take it in phases, find a small group of people that have a high enough density that you can get that group of people to form together and build a small system and then expand from there. Or you can take a large area and try to get everybody within that area interested and go to USDA and funding the larger area. The benefit of looking at a larger area, which is really what this concept is you get the advantage of the income levels that USDA uses in their grant eligibility can be pretty highly variable. A lot of the times it's pretty old data. We did just have a new census, so there's a new round of income data that's going to be coming available. But the larger their area you get, generally, the better your affordability looks from an income level. So trying to get a large enough area and get everybody in that area to fall under the same affordability, this 55% grant, so that you don't go into one area, maybe you have 75% grant, but then you go into another area and maybe it's only 30% grant. So looking at the overall area, doing a composite of the affordability of the entire area, you give USDA a big picture of, okay, this is the full build out of what this system would look like. Once you've submitted that funding package, the next step is the final design and final sign-up phase. So right now it's just are you interested in getting water? Once the funding package has been submitted, then it goes to, well, actually before the funding package gets submitted, you need a district to apply for the funding. And that's really when, okay, we need to know, are you going to sign up and actually be a member of the system? And at that stage is really when you want to be able to say, okay, you're going to sign up for the system and this is going to be the cost. So after that feasibility stage is really where you start to hone in on this is the actual cost of what this looks like based on where the people are interested in signing up. One of the big considerations is right-of-way and being able to secure those. It's much better if you can build the water lines on private easement rather than the public right-of-way. The public right-of-way is available to build the pipelines, but then you're having to construct around all the other utilities that are already in the public right-of-way. And if there's ever any sort of road construction, typically you're having to move the water lines to accommodate the road construction if you're in the public right-of-way, whereas if you're in private easement, you don't have to contend with the other utilities, and you don't have to worry about a road project that disrupts the service and requires you to realign your pipelines. Then after you've done your pre-construction activities, you go into construction, which we're thinking is a 3 to 5 year process for an area of this size, and then going into initial operation. And that likely, even if you go in and fund the whole area as a large package, you probably still go in and construct pieces of the project at a time so that you can get in an area, construct it out, get it into service, so actually have operations start collecting that revenue, build up their operating staff, rather than trying to take it all in one shot and trying to get the entire system in operation all at one time. So what we have over at the tables is we have an interest form that, and this form is also available online for you to be able to go and fill out. So if you are interested in becoming a member, or at least expressing your interest to become a member of the Southeastern Arizona Water District, you can fill out this form. A couple highlights on here. Really the big piece of information, typical name, address, contact information, so the water system can get a hold of you. But also making sure to know your parcel ID, because that's really what we need to know, so that we know which parcels are being proposed to be in the water district. So not everybody knows what their parcel ID is, so we have some computers set up, so if you need to look up what your parcel ID is, we can help you find that. We also would like to know whether or not you're intending to use the water right away, or would like to sign up for the district but then only have it available for reserve capacity. So need enough signups to be able to have enough people to make this project affordable. You can do that either with people that are actually going to use the water right away, or if somebody has a vacant lot and wants to reserve their spot in the system to make sure that the water is there when they're ready for it, and to make sure that the system is built out to them. Then there was 2 different options: to sign up and use the water right away, to also sign up and then say, okay, I don't want to use the waterway, in which you would have the monthly minimum fee, but you would have no consumption fee that would go along with it. It would just be held for you in reserve until you're ready to hook up to it. One of the things about the construction that's being proposed is that the water service will be brought onto your property. There will be a meter pit that is placed at the edge of your property in a location agreeable to the homeowner and to the water system. And then that a water line will be brought to your current water line and connected for you to provide the service on the exterior of your house. So one of the things that we can't do is you cannot have if you have a private well, you can keep that well in operation. You just can't have it tied to the water system. The state is pretty strict about cross-contamination, and so you can't have the water system and a private source interconnected with a single pipeline. You have to have those 2 separate. So you can keep your well if you hook up to the water system, but you just can't have the 2 lines tied in together. So just indicating which level of service you'd be interested in, and then also what your water use is. Most people probably don't have, especially you're out in a rural area just using a well, you probably don't have a great idea of what your monthly water use is. And typically if that's the case, then that's probably not an amount that we're concerned about. It's really more, if you have an untypical water use where you're using more than just your typical residential needs, to indicate that on the form so that we can plan accordingly in the design. And that you know, we're not talking about you know, large livestock operations, just an outside shop or something like that, something out of the ordinary where you're currently would use the water for something other than just your home. And then any other comments that you might have that you would feel the water system would need to know about your property. So that's what I have for my portion of the presentation.
Okay, so that's a lot of information, and the next step here is question and answer. And if you have a question for Patrick in regards to the presentation, that's fine. If you have a question for the board, they're here to answer any questions you have as well. So what we're going to do, if anyone who has a question, please hold your hand up and I'll come over and let you speak the question into the microphone so everybody can hear it. And then we will let them, the appropriate person, answer the question. Oh, and also they're going to start these interest postcard type things down the rows here. You can fill those out while you're here if you'd like, and you can drop them off on your way out. So, got a question over here.
I have a question for Patrick. I noticed the monthly bill was a base price of $50, and you talk about the meter and all that. I have a question concerning if there are any overruns or problems with the project in general. Do we have any protection against the cost going high?
So the board will set rates for the water system on an annual basis. So if costs were to go higher, I mean, there's always the potential that the monthly water bill would have to be adjusted accordingly. But it's really hard to anticipate that. Typically, with a brand new system like this, the problems are pretty minimal. You know, you don't have a lot of water line breaks or something that you have to fund. So the level set initially is usually a pretty good level, and can get adjusted annually, but it's also something that the board will let the membership know well ahead of time if that's something that's being proposed.
I have a confirmation. Did I understand that you said it was better to put the line on private because next to the easement, public easement, there's too many lines that they have to worry about gas and everything? Is that my understanding?
Yeah, that's correct. Looking at private easements just to avoid interference with the other utilities.
Okay, so that's my question. So, if you are interested in this, but private property that's near you, and the line has to come across that private property, and they're not, how would that be dealt with?
So typically, if there's a easement from a landowner, then the pipeline would typically go around it in the public record. And so really that's only a problem if you happen to be on a parcel that doesn't have a public access to it. So as long as you're along a maintained road, most of the time those roads have a public right-of-way already defined that the water line will have access, and any utility would have access to those. If you're happen to be in a weird situation where I've had it where we've been unable to provide water service to customers because they have a driveway access that goes through a neighbor's property, the neighbors don't get along, and the one neighbor refuses to grant an easement to the one that wants the water. So that's the situation that you might have to worry about, but typically for most residences, there is a public access available to get around somebody who's unwilling to provide that. Right.
So, looking at your dollar figures for the estimate and the number of wells, you're going to be pulling roughly 12 million gallons a month out of 2 wells. And how are you siting those? And if you're going 1,000-foot depth, isn't that going to impact the domestic wells in the area or potential water companies that are pulling on that same aquifer or other agricultural operations?
We don't have our hydrogeologist to answer your well depth questions.
I'll answer that. 2 wells for this whole system is nothing compared to the 20 farms that are around it. So the 2 wells will be a drop in the bucket. When each of these farms are pumping 1 million gallons a day,
John, give him the mic.
and the town of Elfrida uses 26 million gallons a year, it's a drop in the bucket. I agree with what you have to say.
Did you have a question over there?
Can you have him repeat that, please? We couldn't hear him over here.
What was that? All right, the 2 wells that they're going to drill to do this.
In the microphone. The mic.
Oh, the 2 wells that they're going to drill, even if they pump 1 million gallons a day, which is your average farm well, they pump 1 million gallons a day for the 1 mile sprinkler. The town of Elfrida here with 600 residents only use 26 million gallons a year to feed everybody. So it's 26 days of pumping on 1 farm compared to the 40 farms or 50 farms that are here. Them 2 wells are not going to affect anything.
We're not really creating new water use here. It's typically taking water use that's spread out individually amongst several wells and combining them into a single well. So we're not really looking to add water use, it's more just consolidate the water use.
Hello, my name is Donna Foley, and I think I want to follow up on this gentleman's comment in that if we have agricultural wells that are pumping huge volumes of water every day, how will that impact the water availability for these 2 residential wells? How can we maintain water levels with no regulation of agricultural pumping? I'd like to direct that question to Mr. Zamora. I think you're a big ag user.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess. Why me? You know, I guess instead of pumping all these smaller wells that are, say, 250 feet deep, you know, all of our domestic wells are roughly around that area, 200, 250, 300 feet deep. Now you're going to be pumping from a deeper level, but from 1 single well, or maybe 2. So, I'm sorry, what, John?
I think the question was how.
You know, I guess this whole idea comes down to, like for me, I'm obviously a farmer, so what it does for me is it gives everybody a fair playing field, if you will, with us farmers. In other words, if you as a domestic water user have access to wells that are 1,000, 1,200 feet deep, you're going to have the same reliable amount of water that we do as farmers. So in the future, as the water table goes down, you're going to be more on a fair playing field with us. That's the way that I see it.
And I just want to mention that we do have a state hydrologist or hydrogeologist, I don't know exactly what Chuck is, who has done some research and has written up a report for this effort. It is up on our website if people would like to read it, and if you have any questions regarding that report, he's very happy to answer them. So he's who we talked to about how deep the well should be and if we can guarantee water and for how long. And it was him who came up with the number of 100 years with the depth and the number of wells we're making. He thinks that the water in this valley will be there for the domestic water for 100 years. So if you have any, there's a document on the website, you're welcome to take a look, and if you have any questions, please feel free to email us and we'll get them to him.
Okay, we have another question over here.
Hello everybody, my name is Tim Frazier. I've lived in the community for a great time. I am a small farmer, and well, I'm nobody's friend here. I see problems everywhere of everything that you do. I've been raised with conventional wisdom that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. My first problem is that you're going to put in this big old system all over this land, and there's land for sale everywhere, right, Mr. Schaefer? You're a real estate agent. So now, moving Cochise County just became $25,000 to $50,000 cheaper. Now, you thought it was a buy then, look at what a buy is going to be now. So now, you're going to have increased demand on that water supply, and you're going to have increased people. Now, the average person I know around here is about 5 to 10 years. A lot of new people moved in, I like some of them, but most of them, I don't like the Californians. And then, when I go to talking about an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, the water's in the ground. All of us own that water, but we're looking at this water board where we got a couple of you folks, moved in, just as citizens of them. There's a problem. There's Mr. Hart, been really involved with 4-H, and as a matter of fact, from what I understand, it's not even farming this year, it's leasing it out, correct? All right, there's something to that. Mrs. Moore, love you to death. You've helped our town, you've kept our hardware store. If it wouldn't been for Mrs. Moore, we wouldn't have a hardware store here in Elfrida, Arizona. Thank you, sir. But you're doing business with Mr. Farr. Mr. Farr being on that board is kind of like putting a fox on the hen house, because the dairy is causing this problem. You're causing this problem. You're picking animals over humans. And here's the thing is what we're seeing in America. We go to Walmart, and Walmart's knocking down mom and pop shops like a bowling ball. They can't compete against them. We as citizens were not meant to compete against corporations like Riverview Dairy. There's no way we can keep up with their money. There's no way we can keep up with their power. And there's no way that James Grizzly and Noe Mitchell and all those other respected men, that most of them are gone, meant for this to happen. What we need to do is they're saying they've got 10, 100,000 head dairies. Guys, we need a law that says you can't have more than 1,000 animals together under any corporation or property. So you know what? We all start feedlots and we all start farming. Now you guys going this way, it's doing nothing but causing problems. You can say you hate me, but you can come today and you can hear my words because I'm telling you the truth. This is not the answer.
Got a question over here?
Yeah, I believe you said that you're going to most of your pipeline on private property. Is that true?
It'll be both. It'll be both. So, it'll be a combination of both. So the having it on the private property keeps you out of the right of way and out of the interference with other utilities. But it'll also there'll be some of it that will be in front of it. So it'll be both.
If you encounter a private property owner that doesn't want your water line on his property, Are you gonna take it by eminent domain?
No.
No, don't say no, I want that in writing.
I don't know that there's any water systems that ever want to do intermittent.
Well, I can tell you it happens because I was on a water and sewer board back east. The water companies do come in and take land by eminent domain for their use. I'd like you to answer that question somehow, either to the board or at the next meeting.
All I think we can say right now is there are no plans to do that, and we have no plans to do it at all. We do have a lawyer who's helping with all of this to see if it's even legally possible to do that here in Arizona, and we can get that question answered and put up on the website if you would like us to, or email to you, just come up and let us know. He's not currently here right now, so we can't, all we know is that there are no plans to do that, but I don't know if it is even legally possible. But we can get that answer to you, so just let us know how we do that.
Got a question over here, and then I'll come back here and then back across.
All you people have graciously volunteered your time and energy. Have we really established that we have this southeastern Arizona water district in place? Or is it something we're still going to see how many people are interested and then what will happen? You mentioned starting in a small area, but by starting small, how can you forge your routes and that type of thing? We own a small farm, and it probably won't affect us, but I could be a realtor. I don't want to see any values go down, but water districts put negative thoughts on it.
So is the question about, is this an actual district? So this is just a group of interested citizens with an interim board. Our current step is just getting interest. If you sign up on the interest form, it is just an interest form. You're not signing your name down to start paying anything. We need to know the interest in order to do the study. And if that study shows there is enough interest to make this logical and feasible and cheap enough for this area, because we understand completely if the water bills were going to be $150 a month, there's no way this is going to work. So if there is enough interest in these forums and these meetings, and we can get the funding we want, we'll come back to those people who signed up and ask them to sign the official petition to go to the county and actually form the district. But for the next, I guess until June 1st is when we're going to be holding these meetings and asking for signups. All we're doing is gauging interest and giving information out to people who might be interested.
Hi there, I'm Ashley. I have a question for the board. I'm curious how you guys feel about the implementation of an AMA in the area, because what you're proposing sounds like a band-aid for a larger problem that the gentleman from before had brought up. And I know folks in the county like their independence with their wells, and so I'm curious about what you guys think about an AMA. And if anybody's interested, I will have the AMA petition outside after the meeting today, and I'm happy to talk to you more. But I'm curious about how you guys feel, because in other cities where there are AMAs, including Tucson, there are water districts, so I'm curious about your guys' thoughts.
I feel like the board is neither for nor against AMA. The AMA, we see it as two separate but different ways of approaching a similar problem. The AMA is dealing with agricultural water use on the whole, and this is only dealing with domestic. The idea being that no matter what happens in the future in this valley, we want people to have water at their homes. That is all we're trying to do. I've had we know a number of people who have lived here very, very long periods of time, and a ton of who were born here and who have already left because their wells have dried up and they don't have the money to drill and they're too old to haul, and we don't have very many people out here who will haul water for people. So I think a good comment that I saw in, I think, the original article that was written about our district, and they talked to some of the AMA founders, is that you can be in support or against either of them. They kind of are both working in different ways to deal with water here in the valley.
Okay, got a question over here.
I just have a regular, simple question. I mean, I am really concerned about the water in the area. I'm also concerned about the cost of the water. Right now, in the slide was really good. It talks about quality of water, reliability, which is great. We need that. But we do, right here, we already have the water, we have the quality, it is reliable. But I believe the current amount that we pay for 1,000 gallons of water, I believe is around the $3 range. And on the website, I believe it was $5. And so the fee was also a little bit higher. So the cost, if it's gonna be more, it's nearly double. Is there would be a way to make it more affordable for everybody too?
Fred, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, you're part of the Elfrida district water, right? You're within the district. Yeah, I mean, all these little districts are funded almost entirely by USDA help. So you get grants, and that helps with that. We came up with the $5 per 100 gallons of water, or 1,000 gallons of water, as just an estimate. This is a bigger system, it's newer, everything is a lot more expensive than when Elfrida was put in. So it's going to be more expensive. So you're not going to get a $30 a month. This is not going to happen. What we're trying to do is keep it under $100, to be honest with you. And we're trying to gauge, we're just trying to gauge interest in this thing, see if it will fly. But talking to all the experts, and I'm not one of them, obviously, it seems to me that it's going to take, that basic fee of $50 a month, roughly, and then your usage fee, which is going to end up being about $75 to $100 a month. I mean, that's what we know now, but those are just estimates. You know what I mean? So it's not going to be cheaper than Elfrida water. I can tell you that right now. And that's why we're not even attempting to encompass Elfrida water, because you guys are getting a cheaper source of water.
One thing to consider as well, though, is that the whole system will be brand new and the wells will be deeper. If and when some of the systems out here, including Elfrida or the private companies, run into problems with their wells in the future or pipelines, they're going to have to go back and get new grants in order to pay for those, and it's probably going to cost us a good amount of money. So there's no guarantee the prices that are there right now are going to stick around forever either, just because you need to still go back to the USDA to get your grants. Things are different now than they were in the past.
Got a question over here.
So my question is just about the private water companies. We live on Kansas Settlement in that blue area that says private water company, but there's no private water company there. So I was wondering, would we be eligible, and what private water company exactly are you talking about?
Yeah, I can't answer. So you're basically saying you're within one of those blue districts where you're in an existing water district, but you're not currently on any public system, right?
Yeah, there's that blue area in Kansas Settlement where she's referring to. There's no water district there, presumably, that she's aware of.
So since there's a water company already formed there, it's not proposed to put this system on top of that one. But we've had preliminary conversations with the water company to see if that's possible. So Southeastern Arizona isn't going to go into an existing water district and try to take over any of the customers. It would have to be with that water company's permission.
Yeah, I think her question is aimed at, there is not a water district there, even though it's highlighted in blue. I think possibly it was proposed way back when, and maybe just never developed, but it still shows up as being within a footprint of something. So that your area would be included in this water district that we're talking about today. If there's not an active water district in your area, then you would certainly be eligible for this. Got a question right here.
How many jobs will this system going to employ in this valley? And how many jobs are going to be, how many people are going to come in from outside this valley to work on this project?
The plan right now is to employ local contractors for everything. We'd have a manage at least one employee. The one employee would be a local who manages everything. And there's no plans to have like our own, I mean, this is all so far in the future, none of this has really been super discussed, but there's no plans to have our own maintenance crew, or we would hire out to all of the locals in the area who already do a lot of this work to do all of the maintenance, to do anything like that. So the only external people we have involved with this are the engineering firm, because we don't have an engineering firm that does this kind of work in this area. Everyone else is at least local to Arizona, but we would have everything within the county and the area.
Our valley has been taking a hit from losing jobs, and the concern is that you guys putting in this right here are water companies that are staffed by locals are gonna also take a hit. We won't be able to keep up with the money. And Mr. Resort, you guys are all right with the water we're losing water, and we're not gonna be able to chase it forever locally. It's gonna happen. I understand what you guys are saying. We just need to do the best we can to keep this valley going with the farmers, because that's what's paying for all this here. We need to have more jobs. We need people down here to withstand and everything else. And these wells aren't going to be cheap. The system you guys want to put in isn't going to be cheap. Water in this valley isn't going to get any cheaper, and it's going to get harder to get. So if everybody wants something cheap, you're going to have to go somewhere else. I'm not for this, and I'm not necessarily against it. I don't want money going out of this valley into somebody else's pocket. I am not a big fan of the dairy being part of this. It is what it is. We're going to need more insurance from you guys that this is going to stay local, and it's going to be a benefit. A lot of you big farmers that are on the board. I understand a lot of what's going on. I am also a farmer. I just don't want this to be also to be a mandate for everybody to just be quiet because you don't have to worry about your water. This valley's gonna have to worry about the water. So don't just think that this is you're gonna get water, you're not gonna have to worry about it. You guys are gonna have to worry about water. Don't ever forget you're gonna have to worry about the water, because when it's all said and done, everybody, these people that are putting all this stuff in are just gonna be like, you guys are out of water, you're gonna leave, and then everybody else with homes that are worth nothing are gonna have to deal with it. So pay attention to everything that's going on. Hold these guys responsible for everything that they're doing, and make sure that we're gonna make a life that's gonna be worth living out here. I'm not against it, and I appreciate everybody out there, and they've all, a lot of the farmers have been doing everything they can. This is more is an awesome man. We've known him for a long time. He's done a lot for the community, a lot more than you guys will ever know. He doesn't talk about a lot of it. I respect him. So let's do the best we can. This is our valley, this is our county. If we don't pay attention, we don't make the best decisions, we're going to lose it.
Thank you. We got another question over here.
Hi, my name is Alice. I live in McNeil.
One thing I always notice when I talk to people about, say, because I thought the AMA was a beginning step for a good idea, that we would indeed put some kind of cap on the huge agricultural businesses that are draining a big percentage of the water. So everybody says, oh, we don't want meters on our wells. Well, in an AMA, when you understand it, there are no meters on residential wells, only on agricultural wells. But in this plant, the meters are on residential wells, and that's what you all didn't want. So I was just curious about that. And then I wondered about neighbors. So the number, as I understand it, the number of participants decreases the amount you all pay. But if your neighbor says, oh, I don't want to be part of that well, won't there be some kind of community friction that doesn't exist now? For the, you'll say, oh, but if you join the water district, we'll have less to pay. But I think the big thing is that it's the big agricultural interests that have come here recently that are drawing down the water. For me, it's the pecan orchards. For others, it's up there at Kansas Settlement and Turkey Creek. It's the dairy. For others, it's pistachio orchards. If you look at the Central Valley in California, look what they're fighting. We can't do these huge agricultural businesses in a desert, dry area. I think if you really have to look at where the water, who's using the water? Who's using the water at huge quantities? Is it you, or is it Mr. Fair? I'm not trying to make a personal issue. I'm trying to say that business, for me, is not a good idea. Neither are the pecan orchards that are approaching my well. That's it.
To answer two of the questions that were brought up, one is that there will be a meter on your property if you are part of the water district. There will never be a meter from the water district in terms of your own personal wells. That's not part of it. We don't have anything to do with personal wells. You're still welcome to use your personal wells. There's no meterage, anything like that. But if you were to sign up for the water district and get water from the water district, there would be a meter on your property. Oh, and as for neighbors and people not wanting to be or be part of the water district, obviously we would like as many people to be part of it as possible because that's what's going to make it financially feasible. We would encourage people who are for it and would like it to talk to their neighbors in terms of wanting to have the water run down their roads and everything like that, but no one has to be part of the district. It's completely an opt-in. So you will not be paying a bill unless you actually want to be part of the district.
Okay, we got another follow-up over here.
Talking about the laws in Arizona with water, if you own the land, you own the water underneath you. And the water is so sketchy that you can put in the biggest well you want, you can pump the most water that you want. So you're not going to stop the farms by the AMA is a good idea. That kind of controls. The state knows how much the farmers are pumping. This actually from Douglas to Sandy's up in Arizona is a non-expansion area, which the state has never done anything with. It was 58 when the farmers here got together and made this a non-expansion area. So it was only the farms that were in 58. Well, there was they give them like a 3-year period, and they drilled a bunch of wells on land that never were used, but it was considered part of the in-grade for the non-expansion area. But the state has never, I've talked to the guy at the county, and you've got to prove that the new well isn't part of, wasn't part of the, farm, which farmland's been put in here ever since the 70s. So, this is a good idea. If this comes through Elfrida, the line, Elfrida should be able to hook onto it. They should have it set up because after the last 6 years of working on the water system, it's just held together by bubble gum and baling wire. So anything that they can do and the money behind that to put in storage and stuff is well worth its weight in gold. I've got a well out at the house in the last 15 years. I've lost 100 foot of water. And I still got 250 foot of water. The well's 560 foot deep. There's $40,000 sitting there, and within 25 years it's going to be gone at the rate we're going right now. So if the water comes by the front of the house, the damn tooth are going to hook onto it because without water your property's not worth anything.
Thank you. Got a question over here. I'm Tim Schmidt. I'm a local business owner, small business owner. And I just want to say that from my point of view, we may not like the way that agriculture is going, the way all of America is going in my mind. Everything's going to corporate farms. But I don't think we have a choice. The way I see it, big corporate farms come about because the margins get so narrow that you have to do that to keep that going. And our whole local economy, from my perspective at least, is all based in agriculture. We can't have the farmers out if we think that we can continue to live here and be successful here. We can't have anything if we don't have farmers. So that's the way I see it. And I know that, like I said, we love the small mom and pop shops. I do too. I'm one of them. But I depend on agriculture. We need agriculture. We have to work together.
Got a question over here, a couple of questions.
Soy Margarita Bojorquez y te voy a preguntar a ti, Fred. ¿Por qué no nos mandaron una nota en el bill del agua para este mínimo? No contamos la comunidad mexicana que hay aquí en Elfrida. Te hablo a ti porque eres el único que me puedes entender a mí.
What she's asking is, she's asking why didn't they notify everybody in the Elfrida Water District as to this meeting? I'm going to answer in Spanish and then I'll answer in English. Es que la área de Elfrida, los que están ganando agua ahorita, no es parte de lo que estamos ofreciendo ahora. No tiene nada que ver con lo que estamos diciendo. Porque ustedes ahorita, la verdad, pagan menos por el agua que nosotros podemos ofrecer. ¿Sí me entienden? Solo que no es parte, no vamos a darles agua a lo que ya agarran agua de la compañía de Elfrida. Eso no es parte de lo que estamos hablando.
Entonces la...
Nosotros no tenemos nada que ver con esa compañía, nada. Y si ellos quieren comprar agua de nosotros, sí va a ser posible en el futuro, ¿no? Pero no tenemos nada que ver con esa compañía. Es para gente que no están agarrando agua de la compañía, todo alrededor de...
Entonces a nosotros no nos va a perjudicar
No.
lo de... Vamos a seguir siendo...
De ninguna manera.
Ah, ok. Es lo que quería saber porque pues si por sí así nos viene un frío de agua, a lo menos a mí me viene mucha agua en el verano, ahora imagínate pagando esas cantidades que están diciendo ustedes, pues no, y la comunidad también, ahora, ok.
Sí, no les va a afectar de ninguna manera.
Ah, okay. Por eso no nos mandaron la nota.
No tiene nada que ver.
Entonces es con ustedes los agricultores.
La verdad no tiene nada que ver con agricultores, es para la gente que no están agarrando agua.
Agarrando agua. Ok, muchas gracias.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, we're getting out of time here. We had a couple more questions. Yeah. Sorry, I thought it was direct.
She was just worried about the bill in it. She's saying that it's going to be more than what she's used to paying. She's part of Elfrida Water District, the little Elfrida Water District. So I told her not to worry about it. It's got nothing to do with them. They will continue to get their water. We're going to encompass around Elfrida and not have anything to do with Elfrida water as of today. At this time.
She also asked why weren't they invited?
Well, she's asking why weren't they invited from us? And like I explained to her, we don't have anything to do with Elfrida water. I mean, we're proposing a system. The district's going to go around Elfrida water and has nothing to do with Elfrida water. So I don't even know who their members are. So I mean, how would we send them anything? I mean, we try to make this as public as possible. It's for everybody. We need to do a better job of getting the word out there for the next meeting, for sure. But we really don't have anything to do with the Elfrida water.
I just wanted the translation to be...
Sorry about that.
Just real quick, just so everybody knows, there are more meetings scheduled. There's one in Sunsites next weekend, I believe, and then one in Sunazona the weekend after, and then there'll be some in March, including another one here. So if you are interested in coming to it, it's going to be the very same setup as this one, so we'll have someone talking about the engineering and everything like that, but if you know anybody who would want to come, there will be more meetings upcoming. They're all on the website, and if you filled out that keep me in touch thing, if we have to cancel them or move them or anything like that, you will receive an email if you filled that out to let you know that the meeting has changed.
Okay, we got, we're out of time, but we'll take 2 questions, and since we've already taken some, if we'll take questions from 2 people who haven't had the opportunity yet. So this gentleman over here.
And one more comment before we leave here. If you have additional questions, we'll still be here for a little while after the meeting. You can send them to our email address, and any questions we've been asked, we have answers to on our website. So please feel free to do that and ask me your questions.
Hi, my name is Mike Shelpa, and I guess I'd like to know that, these big dairy farms or some of the pecan farms, they're using, 1 million gallons a day of water. When our aquifer starts dropping down and caving in, what's going to happen then? Because you cannot replace an aquifer. It's been proven in Florida where they've drained the water so low, salt water's coming into the aquifers, and now they are ruined for life, or they collapse. What are we going to do then?
Patrick, do you have an answer to that?
I don't. Because it's going to happen eventually, especially with all these places putting out 1 million gallons plus a day for...
So none of us are experts in this. We're all volunteers. I'm just a homeowner in the area. We just know what we've been told by the hydrologists, and we're trying to plan for a water solution for residents that would last for 100 years. That was our goal. I don't think any of us can say what's going to happen in the future with the aquifers.
And if there's specific questions aimed at hydrological questions, please pose them to the website or on your card, and we can send them to the hydrologist.
Yes.
And because, as Courtney pointed out, we're not experts in all these areas. We're all volunteers who just want to make, you know, put a possibility of something like this out there and hopefully improve the situation.
Suggestion that there's probably a lot of questions in here, and you have a website, so will those questions be public to everybody and answers?
Yes, so on the website, there's a frequently asked questions page. It already has, I have most of them here. No, there's more than that. There's probably 100 questions there already with answers, and any new questions we've received, we're having written down right now, and we'll be getting those answers up on the website as well. It's all free to the public to see, and if you don't see a question you want answered there, email us or use the contact form on the website. That's me.
Okay.
And I will get to whoever I need to get the correct answer.
I just have one or a couple more, just about your organization. Talking about organized, and you need a statement in there that you were organized by county commission and pursuant to petition. So was there a petition?
So that's in the future. So this right now is just an intern board that was formed by us. There was a group of people who've been meeting trying to figure out residential water for a while. We all volunteered to kind of help lead that effort. The petition would be the next step. So right now it's just the interest. We're trying to gauge interest. Once we have the interest, we go and we get our feasibility study. Make sure that the whole system is doable and financially feasible.
Okay, one more short.
And then that is when the petition would go to the county.
Okay, so then,
Water districts are organized under certain chapters in the Arizona code. So I think there's 3 ways you can organize it. Do you know which way that would be?
I believe the petition that we would be actually sending in eventually is on the website. We have a lawyer who's helped us put that together, and that would list all the terms. We would be, right now, this is all dependent on interest and everything, but right now we're planning to try to be a water improvement district, a WID, or WID, which is a specific type here in Arizona. And all of the terms and all of the information about what would actually that would entail is on that petition, which is on the website. I don't know them off the top of my head. Like I said, we had a lawyer help us with that. But that would be what we would be trying to form.
Okay.
Is it private or public? And if it's private, where do the profits?
If we actually formed a WID, a Water Improvement District, it's a subdivision of the state of Arizona. So it is but it's all run by locals. It's all owned by property owners. So you have I don't know how to explain that.
James Canlin, can you comment on that from James' person?
So this will be a domestic water district, be included with subdivision of the state, so all then they'll be used in business. So it won't be. It is. Looks like a utility is, yes, they're putting subdivision in the state.
Okay. All right, everyone. We're at the end of our time that that Elfrida, the Valley Union, has graciously allowed us to use the location here. So I think now, if you want to drop your cards off at the tables up here, if you want to ask them about what your parcel number is, if you got any follow-up questions for the board or any of us here, we'll be here for a while. So thank you very much for coming out.